As Muslims, we believe that there's one God.
Yes,
Like
I know.
Surah Ikhlas, Qul huwallahu ahad. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
So Qul huwallahu ahad, say He is
Allah.
Allah. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
From memory?
A little bit.
Oh yeah, just whatever comes to your head. I'm all ears.
Well, I learned it from Alif Lam Mim Zalikal Kitabu La Rayba Fi. I forget, but you know, I can read. Well, I can read it. Well, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Zalikal Kitabu La Rayba Fi Hudan Lil Muttaqin. Alladhina yuminuna bil ghaibi wa yuqimuna salata wa mimma razaqnahum
It's flashing, bro.
So, you know.
How to learn to read? Which one at home?
I taught myself, actually.
Oh, you taught yourself Arabic, yeah?
Well, reading and writing. But speaking, you know, you have to go and live in an Arab country for that. But as I say, I got disillusioned with Muslims. They were so... because they don't like beauty. Well, most of the wrong time.
Well, one thing, Kenneth, I would say when it comes to just looking up and just looking at the clouds, looking at the trees, acknowledging that there is a God.
Yeah, yes, it seems to be. But there could be many gods.
But the thing, just before we get onto that, Kenneth, I would say don't let these Muslims that you've come across take that away from you. Just like a vegetarian, if they see bad vegetarians, it's not going to take away from the fact that they don't want to hurt and harm animals, because that's the principle, isn't it? So
Muslims are not vegetarians.
It's an example. I'm saying that.
Yeah. Okay.
So just like if a person is studying Islam, don't let Muslims and the actions and behaviors of Muslims determine right and wrong, good and bad, you know, Quran, truth, scripture, prophets.
I mean, speaking for myself, because I come from like a cultural Christian background, you know, so, and I find, well, both Islam and Christianity to be kind of valid.
But,
you know, I know they argue about, you know, well, the Christians, they believe, they have like a Trinitarian God, you know, 3 in 1.
Yeah.
And the Muslims have, but that was even actually in early Christianity, they had what the Aryans, because the idea is that, well, according to the Aryans or the Muslims, you know, God is first and then his son, Jesus or whatever, is second. But in Christianity...
This is according to?
No, the Aryans,
okay.
And the Muslims, or if you like.
Yeah, Muslims don't believe that.
No, I know, but they kind of went for the sort of Aryan, Bishop Arius.
Yeah.
He said, well, he's like you, he said the God, and then Jesus and is comes after. So, you know, but the Christians say, well, they're Orthodox, that all 3 of them come together. So they're one, you know, 3 parts.
But Kenneth,
well, you know.
Yeah, but Kenneth, the argument that the Quran puts forward is that if there were multiple gods, their wills would be conflicting.
Well, no, yeah, but no, it's only the one God. It is 3 parts of the one God. But the Hindus have 3, you know.
They have thousands, yeah.
Yeah, but they are just like, what are they, jinn. They're sort of Hindu gods, because they have thousands of them. You know, but the 3 main gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, you know, they are the
Trimurti, yeah.
Like the Trinity, a kind of Trinity.
Yeah.
And the others are, I suppose, that Hinduism, they worship jinn because they can do things. You know, some Muslims, you know, they have jinns that can do things for them.
So Kenneth, as Muslims, we believe that there's one God.
Yes,
Like
I know.
Surah Ikhlas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
So Qul Huwallahu Ahad, say He is
Allah.
Allah. Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
So that's our definition of God that you agree with,
Yes.
isn't it?
But there could be three parts, like
Could they? Okay, let's.
could be. I mean,
No, this is it's an interesting point. What do you think there needs to be three parts? If we believe God is all powerful, all intelligent, all merciful, does God need to have multiple parts? Does He need to come to earth as a human being? What do you think about that necessity?
that's symbolic. You
But
know,
they don't believe Jesus is symbolic, though.
the thing about monotheism compared to Eastern religions like Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, they're prepared to kill people who differ from them. And the Christians and the Muslims have fought religious wars. You know, I mean, in Europe, if you know the history of Europe, the 30 Years' War in the 17th century. You
I
know,
mean, you can say the same. I mean,
but
you're.
Hindus and Buddhists and Taoists, they never fight. You know, they don't care what.
The Hindus don't care. I mean, what about the Mahabharata? That book is about a war
Yeah, but it's
of
not
Arjuna.
religious war. It's not religious. You know,
But,
they're not trying to.
but God is involved in that war. He's encouraging.
Well, God's involved. You know, well,
No, let me give you an example.
I've
God.
never read that.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that. That's why.
You're from Pakistan, yeah?
Yeah. So in the Mahabharata, God, an avatar of Vishnu, comes down, and he actually encourages the main hero, I think Arjuna.
Yeah. the
Yeah,
Bhagavad Gita,
yeah, to fight. He actually doesn't want to because his family's on the other side, and he says no. The good must prevail. So when the central text of Hinduism is what is about a war, and the other one, Ramayana, that one's about a war as well. It's about Ram fighting with Ravana, the one who's depicted with having 10 heads. So, and even
But these are all.
no, but they believed it to be true. That's why there's a whole book. It's not metaphorical. I mean, why have a book about
but
metaphor?
I mean,
And even now, sorry to interrupt, but even now, when you look at the BJP government in India, the leader Modi, one of his points was, the point that he made was about Ram and the coming of Ram, and they believe that Ram will come again as another avatar to bring peace. And if you're looking now at what these Hindutva are doing, they are killing and they are maiming people, vigilante, beef, whatever it is, in the name of their religion. The 969 in Myanmar, the Buddhists, they did exactly the same thing.
the Buddhists.
Yeah, the Buddhists.
But the thing is, look what the Muslims did when they went to
No, but
India.
no. Look,
I mean, Nalanda University Library, the biggest in the Middle Ages, the biggest university library in the world, it took them 8 days to burn it down. And not this Buddhist Hindu university in North India, Nalanda. I mean, they had, because I can't remember that. They said the Quran's not here, it's worthless.
no, they didn't say the Quran's not here, Kenneth.
I mean,
Kenneth, look,
knowledge should be preserved.
It should be preserved. It should be respected, of course. But we can't equate wars, books written on wars, with somebody burning down a library, Kenneth.
Well,
Yeah.
what the Muslims did in India is like what the Christians did in South America, to the Aztecs. And
It depends which Muslim ruler you're talking about. If you're talking about Aurangzeb,
you get
yeah.
good ones and bad
But
ones.
look, I'm going to tell you something, Kenneth. If I was to stand here to defend Muslims, I would lose. I would lose.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you were to defend Hindus and Buddhists, the Eastern religions, you would lose, like I've given you examples.
The only thing is that they didn't have, in the past, they didn't have, like
Yeah.
in Europe, the 30 Years' War, the Crusades, and, stuff like that.
I mean, even if we get into that Oppenheimer, the movie that everyone's raving about,
I've just seen it.
you know what I mean?
Well, look, the Jewish bomb, if you like.
So I mean,
Well, they were all mostly Jewish scientists working on it.
yeah. So when it comes to that, we know that anyone following any religion will say, you know what? There's good people and there's bad people. People that understand that don't.
The nature of human beings.
Exactly. That's the point I wanted to get across. So with me, Kenneth, I can't defend Muslims, and I'm sure you can't defend Eastern religion. Somebody else can't defend Christians. But what I am here to defend is Islam, is the doctrine of Islam, and that's my point. That's what I'm kind of promoting to you. That's what I'm kind of disseminating to you. Not about Muslims, to be honest. I'm sure I could take you, to Jordan, and you'd find many people that love the art that you do and would appreciate it. However, if I was to take you to East London, no disrespect to the East Londoners, they would probably say, what's going on here? Why is my man sitting there with bare tiles in his hands? So, not to generalize, I mean, I got a lot of love for the East Londoners, but the point that I'm trying to say is it's the same with the Christians. There's some Christians that I'm going to be honest, Speaker's Corner, I don't meet the best Christians. But I know, generally speaking, we're told in the Quran that the Christians are the most closest to you. And generally speaking, when it comes to the LGBT phenomena and all of this sort of stuff, the Muslims and the Christians...
That's not really Christian, though. All this gay and...
Yeah, I agree with you.
They don't like it any more than you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... Well, it seems insane.
I agree with you, Kenneth.
But one thing the Christians did...
Yeah.
...is they abolished slavery. Well, the British...
Did they, though?
Yeah, well, more than anybody else. More than the Muslims ever did.
Okay, what if I told you that it's only been about 4 or 5 years that we have finished paying reparations to the slave owners? In fact, slavery wasn't abolished.
You mean the British? I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, that no other cultures ever, even considered abolishing it.
Okay, what if I told you that in Islam, any excuse to freeing a slave, you can find copious evidences.
Yes, I know that.
Yes.
What about what they did to the Yazidis? The Yazidis?
Who's they?
Huh?
Who's they?
The Yazidis, they live in Iraq.
Yeah, but when you said what they did to the Yazidis.
ISIS and
Yeah, well, there you go, Kenneth. ISIS.
Because but they were, extreme Muslims, if you like.
But the thing is, look, when it comes to the actions of ISIS, they have not only been condemned, they have been mass condemned to such a degree that you can speak, like studies have been done asking lay Muslims, what do you think about ISIS? They don't represent us, what they're doing is wrong, we condemn their actions. It's very obvious that the average layman does not equate their actions to that. For example, the 969 of the Buddhists. The Buddhists will not claim that the actions
of the Buddhists?
969.
What's the 969?
That's my point. I mean, ISIS gets promoted by the media. 969, people don't know about the 969.
No.
969 is an extremist Buddhist.
You get all religion.
Well, there you go, Kenneth. There you go. But the 969 people haven't even heard about them. The Kahanists of Israel. Have you heard about them?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Have you heard about them?
Meir Kahan, yeah, he's
Well, you're somebody of wise. You remind me of a saying of my teacher. Right? Sometimes I get white hairs, and he says, "Look, these white hairs didn't turn white in the sun. They turned white because of wisdom and experience. Experience. So I mean, I can see,
I'm 77 years old, so
and a man of experience. That's why we're having, Kenneth, an honest discussion. That look, when a point gets put forward, you're saying, you know what, and you've accepted. There's zealots in each religion.
No,
and
I accept that.
So it's the same. Unfortunately, I'm sure you'll accept that when it comes to the propaganda machine and the click rates. The Muslim extremists, like Georgia State University said, Muslims get 4.5 times more exposure, the Muslim terrorists, than say somebody else. But since 9/11, 73% of the attacks have been done by far right. So the numbers, like Jay-Z
it was
said,
Israel that did 9/11 anyway. I think more than likely.
Wouldn't be surprising, is what you're saying,
because they wanted or in the government Biden's government has, I can't remember, he said Biden's got enough Jews in the to form a minyan, which is a synagogue, you know, in the government. You know, that's what this stupid war in Ukraine.
I agree with you.
You know, hopefully Russia's with because Putin is, you know, he's a reasonable man. I mean,
His
you know,
Orthodox Christianity definitely is.
well, he allows. Well, they built a huge mosque in Moscow.
His respect for the Quran is
And
also
the Chechens,
commendable as well.
he's made it. He's going to make it illegal
Yeah,
to burn the Quran.
yeah,
You know, because obviously people who do that,
Pointless.
you know, they do it to make you angry.
Yeah. Exactly.
For sure.
And but don't you find it's interesting that when the Bible gets burnt, people are like, man, it doesn't really matter. There's so many different versions of the Bible. Which version of the Bible are you actually burning? And is that the Bible that has this verse in it? Has that been taken out? With the Quran, I'm sure in your travels you've realized there's one Quran that you'll find in any country that you've gone to. You can recite the Quran. No one's going to come and say, which version have you recited? Is this version that? Don't you find that fascinating in your travels as well?
Because they have this sort of oneness, you know, they want to make everything kind of.
Yes, because one God, one book,
What about
one
the
final
Shia?
message. Yeah, but look, Kenneth, even with the Shia, I think that's a good and honest question. With the Shias and the Sunnis, we believe there's one God, no difference of opinion.
Yeah.
We accept the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
I know it was a succession.
But do you see though, it's the fundamentals, Kenneth, that are the same. You can explain monotheism to a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, to a 20, 30-year-old, to somebody in a village, to someone in a city. But Trinity is somebody, you go to a vicar, you go to a priest. It's something that you cannot explain. And if this is something that's going to determine me going to heaven or hell, surely it should be something whose fundamentals are explainable. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, the Trinity is not that difficult to explain.
So you've got the Father, you've got the Son, you've got the Holy Spirit. These are three, but they're actually one. So Jesus came.
Because they're,
Come on, Kenneth.
it's,
You don't believe that, Kenneth. You don't believe that. I'll tell you why. Because
you know, it's beyond.
no,
Even the
Kenneth.
oneness of Allah is
It's not.
beyond.
You speak.
human.
Look,
It says.
you don't believe that, Kenneth. I'll tell you why. Look, you got a 6-year-old child. There's one God. How many gods are there?
Yeah,
One God. Okay. You speak to another 6-year-old child. Okay. There's the Father. There's the Son. There's the Holy Spirit. But they're one. But when Jesus died, God died. But God didn't really die. He prayed to God, Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani. Oh my God, why hast thou forsaken me? But he's praying to himself because he's God. God's dying because he's put original sin. But so he has to do a blood sacrifice. But this is a sacrifice that Kenneth, come on. Doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
but look, all the sort of
Content.
the religions that still exist today.
Talk about Islam.
Well, Islam.
Yeah, go on.
You know, they produce beautiful. Well, as Putin, he talks about Russia as a civilizational state.
Yeah.
You know, not before they were communists, trying to spread it all over the world. You know, it's become the complete reversal of, you know, when the Cold War before, when the Americans have become evil, and the Russians are fighting for, you know, civilizational values. Because if they win in Ukraine, and the Americans, you'll have all their LBGTs, you know, all that nonsense there as well, for sure.
But being somebody that acknowledges that there is a God, you know the importance and the need for morality. And morality only comes from religion, objective morality.
Yeah, that's why, you know, religions, there's bad sides of religion, but they have a good side in that they believe in, like, no theft, murder, or adultery, you know, which is, you've got to have for civilization to, because otherwise, you know, men will be trying to steal another guy's wife or whatever, you know, like. So
But I would argue,
those things.
But I would argue, in Christianity, the principles are more vague. They're very much open to interpretation. Other than the 10 Commandments, things are very open. Things are very kind of, could it be this way? Could it be that way?
I mean, the sort of theology, you know, the sort of.
Is he your friend?
Yeah.
So-
I'll think about it anyway.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's really nice kind of speaking to you, and hopefully we speak again. And yeah, it was really interesting hearing about your travels and going back and forth. And I'm here every Sunday if you want to come.
Yeah, I'll come here.
Yeah. Kenneth,
Okay.
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Take care.